So often, wild animals are the casualties of our human existence. Killed for profit. Their habitats under threat. Made to live in cramped spaces, poorly fed. They're destined to live out their lives in misery unless someone takes action. Wild Animal Rescue follows the people from the international animal welfare charity 4 Paws as they go on daring and sometimes dangerous rescue missions to give animals a better life. In this episode, a drama-packed mission flying 6 tigers from the Netherlands to South Africa. First, a medical emergency.
Hat keine Reaktion?
Nein.
Followed by hijinks on the tarmac. And then, the challenges of treating lions with medical problems.
Lift the lion up. How?
Frisia is a province in the northwest of the Netherlands. Agriculture and farming are the main industries here. Horses and livestock dot the landscape. It's certainly not where you'd expect to come across tigers, lions and panthers. This fairly ordinary-looking rural property is the Felida Big Cat Centre, housing 20 large predatory cats that have been rescued from locations all over Europe.
This is Cromwell, and he came from Dartmoor Wildlife Centre in the UK. He ended up in the centre here after the Dartmoor Wildlife Centre turned out to have unsafe enclosures.
That was in 2002. The owner of the centre was charged with illegally breeding Siberian tigers and keeping them in poor conditions. Cromwell settled in nicely and mated with another tiger here called Juno.
They had 2 litters, and out of the first litter only Rasputin survived. And he is luckily a very healthy big tiger. And the second litter is 2 males and 1 female. They're called Mirza, Rafik and Sita.
Cromwell and Juno and their 4 cubs have continued to live at the centre, even through a period when the centre was struggling to survive. Originally called Pantera, it was founded in the early 90s as a shelter for big cats born in captivity. Many were retired circus cats that would otherwise have been put down. But a few years ago, Pantera came under financial pressure, and the enclosures began to fall into disrepair.
I met Juno and Cromwell 10 years ago, and I couldn't get them out of my mind. The way that they were kept, the darkness, the coldness, the smell, everything was just terrible. And I just couldn't get them out of my mind.
In 2013, 4 Paws took over the centre and carried out maintenance and improvements to bring it up to scratch. An important part of daily life for the animals of Felida is what's known as enrichment, activities which help to keep the animals physically and mentally stimulated.
If you look to especially predators in captivity, you can see that their environment is not stimulus for them, so they don't see any new things. And through enrichment, they can get their feeling that they're being in the wild, they have the new smells, they can hunt.
Physical props which provide enrichment can be cardboard boxes, balls, watermelons, or for the more sophisticated tiger, designer-labeled perfume.
This is just a normal perfume, but the smell is pretty intense. And when the animals look around in their enclosure, it's like they walking around in their own territory. And if they smell a different smell in their territory, they want to mark the smell. So that's why they get really interested in different smells in the enclosures. It's called flaming in Dutch. They put up their lips and try to scent in the air, so they have a special organ here, and they can smell better with that organ.
Despite all the enrichment activities and improvements made to the enclosures, the long-term plan is to move most of the big cats to places where they have more space and will be more stimulated. Cromwell, Juno and their 4 offspring are the next to be moved, but it's going to be a massive journey, all the way to 4 Paws' flagship wildlife sanctuary, Lionsrock, in South Africa.
In South Africa, they get the space they need, they get all the facilities they need. They've got the trees they can climb in, they got the nice weather, they got the pools where they can swim, because tigers love to swim. And unfortunately, we can't give it to them here in the Netherlands.
The veterinary team have arrived. Experts in wildlife medicine, they have the important task of tranquilizing the animals in order to move them into their travel crates. Normally, they'd do a pre-anesthetic check on any animal that's going to be sedated. But with tigers being dangerous animals, that's not possible. There's an element of risk with this procedure. Their mobile clinic needs to be ready for any emergencies. The flight to Johannesburg is scheduled for 11 p.m. It's a 2-hour drive to the airport where there'll be inspections and documentation, which could take quite a while to clear. They can't afford any delays.
We do 2 animals at the same time because we have the luxury that we have enough veterinarians here around, so to keep the procedure as short as possible. We are working with dangerous animals, of course, and with dangerous drugs, so safety first. Safety for the animals and safety for all the people.
Frank is responsible for the safety of the team, and he's not entirely comfortable.
To be honest, the cages doesn't look really promising.
No.
The enclosures are not really 100% safe, and we have to cross public areas here, so a lot of people around. It's not the best situation working with dangerous animals, so that's the reason why we take especially more than 100% precautions.
Frank and his team estimate the weight of each animal and carefully calculate the dosages required to sedate them.
They are the biggest ones, so calculate 170, 160, she's 110.
Anesthetizing large carnivores is a risky business, with plenty of opportunity for things to go wrong.
It's quite important to have the right dose for the anesthesia, of course. So now we're going to prepare each individual dart for every animal.
The vets use a gas-propelled gun to dart the tigers. The first to be tranquilized is Rafik. The dart must hit a large muscle for the needle to lodge and correctly release the drugs. Next is brother Mirza. The anesthesia will only last around half an hour, giving the staff a short window of time when it's safe to handle the animals. It takes around 10 minutes for the drugs to take effect. The team follows strict safety procedures, only entering the enclosure once the vets have given the okay.
You're too big?
I'm a big guy, huh? Take it out, this one.
The first priority is to start monitoring the tigers to make sure they're responding okay to the drugs. But the small size of these holding cages is making the job very awkward.
He's lying also just in front of the door. Nice.
Rafik is stable, but Mirza's responses are causing concern.
She's really relaxed, huh?
Yes, he's breathing is not.
It's not as good. So
It's not deep and regular.
we will get the oxygen. Braucht Dopram hier?
Okay. So. Achtung, ich will nicht. Sorry, I need to go to the end. Milliliter?
5 Milliliter.
Adrenalin?
Ja.
Hat er keine Reaktion?
Nein.
Mirza has gone into cardiac arrest and needs a drug to get his heart beating again. Our Four Paws team is moving 6 adult tigers from the Netherlands to South Africa. But Mirza, one of the first tigers to be sedated, has gone into cardiac arrest. The situation is critical.
Das what?
Ja.
Wie viel? Wie viel?
Between 20 and 80, it's going up and down.
Okay. It's back.
Yeah.
So we load him first.
Yeah.
Quick.
Ich höre nichts gerade.
Hang on, hang on. Komm, wir müssen ihm ein Antidot geben. Lass uns ihn raustragen. Okay. Antidot fertig machen, ja? Okay, you ready?
Mirza is still very unstable. The team desperately need to get him into the travel crate so they can administer the recovery serum.
Someone hold the head, sir. Let's go. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Okay.
atmet 16 pro Minute, atmet gut. Puh.
The recovery serum will now bring Mirza out of his sedation. Mirza's brother Rafik appears to be stable, but that incident shows why Frank and his team have to be prepared for any emergency.
The heartbeat was very, very low, and he was not breathing. So that's the reason why we supplied oxygen and some emergency drugs.
Resuscitating Mirza costs the team valuable time, and they need to push on if they want to have any hope of reaching the airport in time. The tigers in the crates are carefully monitored until it's safe to wake them.
Think about the deal. They're checking the heartbeat and seeing if they can wake him up, and then he gets the antidote against the anesthetics. And then we close the door a bit, and as soon as all the wires are out, we close it, and then we wait for him to wake up.
Once each animal is awake, its crate can be loaded onto the transporter. Rafik is being loaded in front of Mirza, who is now fully awake and angry, causing her brother to stress as well.
Well, he's trying to get out, I think. I don't know.
With a journey of over 24 hours ahead, Mirza's stress levels are dangerously high.
Baby.
Also of concern, the mother tiger, Juno, isn't responding well. The team need to get her reacting before the transport can get underway.
Yeah, it's good. She's lifting her head. You're not allowed to transport immobilized animals, so we just needed to be sure that she's really not immobilized anymore. She has a hangover. If you tease her, she lifts the head and she's like, what are you doing? But if you let it go, she just goes down and sleeps. So it's fine, she's sleepy, but she's awake.
All of the animals are finally loaded. Now they can start the 2-hour road trip to Schiphol Airport in Amsterdam. Some of the staff at Felida have been caring for these tigers for many years, so this is a bittersweet moment.
Yeah, it's very mixed emotions. Happy for them, we're gonna miss them terribly, but we know where they're going to, and we're absolutely sure they're gonna be delighted.
This is the tiger's future home, Lionsrock, in the Free State, South Africa. Spread over 1,200 hectares, it's home to a variety of big cat, roaming game, and other African wildlife. It started with one group of rescued lions.
A former safari park in Austria got bankrupt. There are 14 lions without having any hope for the future. And FOUR PAWS stepped in.
After having no luck in finding an existing sanctuary to house the lions, FOUR PAWS came across a farm in South Africa and decided to establish their own sanctuary. That was in 2007. Today, Lionsrock is home to more than 120 big cats.
With the animals here, they should be in the wild. They shouldn't be in a sanctuary. What we're doing here is just to clean up the last things where the humans did wrong steps to deal with these animals.
Being rescued animals, many of the cats at Lionsrock need regular medical care.
Hello, my boy. Hey, how's it?
Head of Animal Welfare, Hildegard Perker, has called in local specialist vet Dr. Peter Caldwell to look at 9-year-old Genghis. He appears to be limping on his back legs.
Calcaneus Achilles tendon, eh? Laxicity of the Achilles tendons.
Dr. Caldwell's first guess is that damage to the heel bones has caused injury to the Achilles tendons.
I suspect both calcaneuses were broken at some stage.
Broken?
And then the Achilles tendon pulled its skew. You see the knee? Then the joint below the knee there. It goes right down. The angulation is down. I think it's causing inflammation and pain.
Genghis has been lured into the night room attached to the enclosure. That way it's much easier to dart him. Once he's sedated, he's taken over to the Lionsrock Clinic, where Dr. Caldwell and his team will perform x-rays. eye drops are given to prevent his eyes drying out.
I just want to take some X-ray of his hips and his hind legs because the problem seems to be in the hind legs. There's crepitus there.
At 9 years old, Genghis is middle-aged for a lion. In the wild, males seldom live longer than 10 to 14 years. However, in captivity, they can live more than 20 years.
All right, what was that? Left. Left. Okay. Prep for the next one. The line needs to be turned.
To get the next X-ray, the team must put Genghis into a seated position with his hind legs stretched out in front. Not a very flattering look for the king of beasts.
All right. Wonderful, Angie. Now you guys must hold it, eh? Hold it straight, otherwise you do the machine then if you can't hold it straight.
Trying to handle over 200 kilograms of deadweight lion is often a struggle.
Hold the line on top there, guys. Hold the line. You're letting it collapse. Come, guys. Come here.
That's 7 people trying to maneuver Genghis into position, and they're not having a lot of success.
Oh. Come. Pull the line back. Yeah, it's struggling. Oh.
The X-rays don't reveal any major problems with the bones in his legs.
This is the calcaneus I was talking about. That's totally normal. Achilles tendon is totally normal. So the bones are fine, eh?
So it's the spine?
Yeah, it's the spine. I think these ligaments are nothing to worry about. I think it's the spine. Okay, take a drip off and let's go. Nothing we can't fix though.
The solution is to put him on a drug program for up to a year. Hildegard can administer his medicine by way of dart gun herself without having to call the vet out. But first, she's going to need a bit of practice. The 6 tigers may be on the road to South Africa, but the vet's work hasn't finished at the Felida Big Cat Centre in the Netherlands. They're giving medical checkups to some of the older residents at the centre, like Sandra, who's been suffering from health problems.
Well, Sandra has a bump on her back, and we're not sure how it happened, but we think that she probably slipped and got a hernia. And she also had a lot of trouble with her bladder.
Sandra's keepers have been treating her with antibiotics, but as soon as the medication stops, her symptoms return, and they're getting worse. At 15 years old, Sandra is nearing the end of her lifespan. Animals that are sick or old often cannot be rehoused due to the dangers involved in anesthesia and transport. Sadly, that means Sandra is unlikely to ever leave the centre. However, the team here are still intent on giving her a good quality of life for the remainder of her years.
We took a blood sample and now we have her on the infusion line, and now we're going to start with the ultrasound examination. Yeah, and see what we find.
The ultrasound quickly reveals a serious problem with Sandra's bladder.
It looks like you cannot check it, so it looks like it's more like a mass, yeah?
Yeah.
The bladder looks pretty filled with something, so before, of course we cannot see the quality of the content, but we can just say that it's filled not only with urine, but filled with either pus or mucoid, but since pus could see some bacterial infection, the chances that it's pus is quite high. Oh, now it moves a little bit. You see that? Maybe we... Oh!
Okay. No, it's...
We're gonna wait what Frank says about the ultrasound, and then we'll probably put a catheter in and flush it.
Analysis of Sandra's blood provides further evidence of serious issues with her vital organs.
She has acetomia, which means that special metabolites that have to be excreted over the bladder, the kidneys and the bladder, that they didn't get filtered out of the blood, so they are now higher.
Further examination reveals damage to the kidneys as well. It's not looking good.
see a very irregular surface, and also compared to the aorta, the kidneys are already shrunk.
The kidneys are so destroyed that it's not reversible anymore. With ultrasound, you see very first signs very early, before you see changes in the blood. But in her, the changes in the blood are already indicating
so it will only go
irreversible.
And it means she is in pain, or what?
Yeah, she's in big pain. We diagnosed a very, very severe kidney problem. So it started already that the entire body get intoxicated, and it is very obvious that this is not reversible, and it's a lot of pain. It's very painful, and we made a clear decision: the best for the animal is to euthanize. So we made the decision for her.
It's devastating for the team. They've just given new life to 6 tigers, and now they had to lose one.
Okay, so look through this. Keep both your eyes open. Go point through the window there.
Back at Lionsrock, Hildegard is learning how to use a dart rifle so she can administer monthly medication to Genghis.
Put your dart in and put your doppies in.
You have to show me.
Okay. Come stand aside.
The gun needs to be loaded with a cartridge which provides the propulsion for the dart. There are 3 different strengths of cartridge, depending on how far you want to shoot.
Brown is the weakest, green is the middle one, and yellow is the strongest. Choose one that you would think you would want to use.
In which case, for now? Or?
Yeah, say your line's escaped, yeah, and it's running there, just behind the trees, behind that Fortuner.
From where?
From the stairs. You can't get
from
closer.
Here?
Yeah, from here you got to shoot that line.
You said this is the strongest, the yellow
Yes.
one, so I would use this.
Okay, put it in.
Shooting guns isn't what Hildegard signed up for when she decided to go into animal conservation.
I'm a pacifist. I'm a pacifist.
Okay. Now let's go and dart the lion.
That's where I aimed.
Perfect. Wow, that was a good shot. Was that a yellow one?
That was yellow, yes.
Okay, let's put a green one in. Out and in. Now shoot a green charge and let's see what this gun does on green charge. Every gun is different.
Hildegard shot with the highest strength cartridge first. Green is the middle strength.
I feel that first dart hit way too hard. You probably broke a bone or something.
No, it was hard.
Yeah, but it was very accurate. So one has to decide. Okay, now give a brown charge. Okay, close.
It doesn't even go there.
There's nowhere. Go and have a look at those darts and see how deep they went.
Wow.
It hits hard, eh?
Sorry.
You see, that went all the way in there. That would have broken the lines.
And that is a
That
wood.
one-
That's not a lion's bump.
That one hit a little less hard. Yellow, I'm scared of. I never use yellow. You see, that one comes out quickly, eh?
Next, the tigers arrive in South Africa, but not everyone's happy.
Guys, Rafik is really stressed. Can we just not disturb him more?
And a lion that has the specialist amazed.
I've never actually seen a lion that looks like this before.
Wildlife veterinarian Dr. Peter Caldwell is visiting Lionsrock in South Africa's Free State.
Hello, Gypsy, and she's drinking water, which we don't really want her to do, but it's okay, it's okay.
It's too late.
We'll deal with it.
Hildegard has called him in to inspect several lions with special health problems, like Gypsy, a 14-year-old lion with dwarfism.
Yeah, I've never actually seen a lion that looks like this before. When I saw her, I was astounded.
She was born in Romania in 2001 together with a male. I'm not sure exactly how she became so handicapped, but must have happened while she was growing up, that they didn't nourish her properly and not enough sun, maybe inbreeding, a lot of factors can have been, but her brother was looking the same.
Gypsy and her brother spent over 10 years in a small concrete enclosure in Romania. Eventually, they were rescued by Pantera, the name the Felida Big Cat Center went by before FOUR PAWS took it over.
Unfortunately, her brother died in that period before FOUR PAWS took over. And yeah, she's now here since July 2014. And in general, the climate here is much better for her joints because she has obviously arthritis.
During her past year and a half at Lionsrock, Gypsy has been in good health. However, in the past month, Hildegard has noticed that she often appears to be in pain.
When the animal keepers were coming to feed her every evening in here, she would run, really like run, hop, 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 funny way, but she runs. And this, a month ago, you could see she was like walking slow, and that is the time when I thought something got worse.
Gypsy is obviously one of those cases that is not repairable, but there is a possibility of making her life a lot more comfortable. We're unsure of exactly what caused it. Is it the genetic component causing dwarfism, or is it medication that was used that caused premature closure of growth plates? But it's a syndrome of things. We call it a syndrome which is multifactorial.
Dr. Caldwell needs to sedate Gypsy before he can inspect her more closely.
Sorry, Gypsy.
The tigers have landed safely in South Africa and are quickly moved to the loading area for the final leg of the journey to Lionsrock. Barbara and keeper Rhino travelled with the animals in the cargo plane.
During the flight we checked them once and they responded very well. They seemed calm and relaxed. I think now they're a bit stressed because of all the new people and the new smells and new sounds. So as soon as they're completely loaded, we can take off to Lionsrock.
A big team from Lionsrock are here to load up the tigers. Rafik, one of the young males, is not happy.
Guys, Rafik is really stressed. Can we just not disturb him more? Can we please all stay away from him? He's not very happy and you're stressing him out further.
Barbara briefs veterinarian Katja Kuppel on the status of the tigers.
Well, we were a bit concerned, of course, because Mirza reacted not so well to the sedation, and of course, you know, then right before we wanted to transport her, she seemed to be not very stable.
Okay.
So we were very concerned, and I see them now being a bit aggressive maybe or agitated, but I think it's just stress from the situation.
Stress from being unloaded, the loud noise, lots of people.
The team are anxious to get going, but that can't happen until the paperwork and formalities are completed.
What happens when they're landed, when any live shipment is coming? Then we've got obviously the cargo agent, which is ensure that all the paperwork is here. Then we've got the state veterinarian, who will check all the paperwork, will ensure that these animals have the correct permits, all the veterinary permits are in order.
It's been over 24 hours since the tigers were sedated, and Rafik is getting increasingly agitated.
Rafik ate all his flooring, his wooden flooring. He shredded it in the middle and he's just taking all his anger out on the wooden floor. It's supposed to take us, what, 4 hours about? We're gonna have to stop to check on the animals. We have to get fuel for the vehicle. The animals are really stressed. We really want to get them on the road.
Finally, the convoy sets off. The 4-hour road trip will take them just under 300 kilometers south through the African countryside to the Free State. Along the way, the team stop to refuel and check on the tigers. Rafik appears to have calmed down, but now Mirza has Katja concerned.
I've got a report from the vet that he didn't do well on the anesthetic, so he's very, very flat. In the moment, I'm very worried. He's the only one not wanting to interact and look out, see the environment. He just wants to be left alone and sleep. And that's not a good sign. That just means something is not right.
Back at Lionsrock, Gypsy, the lion with dwarfism, is going on a much shorter journey. She's off to the clinic for a medical and dental checkup.
We're working quite conservatively with Gypsy with respect to sedatives. We use the conservative dose. She went down really well, breathing really well. They noticed 2 of the canines that were fractured, the bottom canines, and they're doing root canals and repairing them.
Fractured teeth aren't uncommon in lions. It happens as they get older and their teeth wear down. Many of the rescued lions had a poor diet when they were young, so their teeth are brittle. 2 root canals will take a while, so Dr. Caldwell hooks Gypsy up to a respirator to make sure she gets enough oxygen. The dentist drills holes at the base and tip of the canine teeth to clean out the inside of the tooth.
The pulp is exposed and therefore infection is going to go in, potentially can go all the way into the jawbone, and that can cause abscessation and pain.
However, Gypsy's age is not making it easy for the dentists to perform the root canal.
As a tooth ages, pulp gets narrower, and that brings its own complications because it's very difficult to file it. And in her case, we had not a very wide pulp, it just takes a lot of work.
While the dentists work, blood samples are taken. These will reveal whether her dwarfism is affecting her organs. They finished removing the pulp and are now filling Gypsy's teeth with dental acrylic. It's taken almost 3 hours to get to this point.
We're done, Peter. I'm just waiting for this to set. It's going to be a minute or so. All right, let's go.
Dr. Caldwell wants Gypsy to have an X-ray. It'll be the first time she has been X-rayed. Hopefully, this will show whether Gypsy's dwarfism is impacting on other organs in her body. It could reveal if there are any other medical problems that are contributing to her pain. The tigers have finally arrived at Lionsrock. This could be a traumatic introduction to Africa. All they've ever known are cages and enclosures in a European climate and landscape. Plus, several of the tigers have had a stressful journey. Tomorrow they will be released, and only then will the team get a clear idea of whether the rescue mission has been a success. At Lionsrock, Gypsy the lion has had a lengthy operation on her teeth, and the medical team are taking advantage of her still being sedated to give her X-rays to see how her dwarfism is affecting her.
We took a whole series of X-rays of her whole skeleton just to get an idea of what we're dealing with. Yeah, those joints are all abnormal. It's very abnormal. The lower joints of the 4 legs were not great. There was a massive amount of osteoarthritis and degenerative joint disease causing not being able to walk properly, would occasionally cause pain. Also, it would deter her from obviously being very active. Together with her being inactive, you'd get a whole lot of other things, reduced intestinal function, and her metabolism would slow down quite a bit as well.
While the prognosis isn't great, it's no surprise to Dr. Caldwell, and it's certainly helped in working out the best course of action.
We're able to palliatively treat the condition and symptomatically keep the inflammation at bay and give her a good quality of life, which I think we have achieved, and I think it's a positive outcome in that irrespective of what she looks like and how she walks, we're still able to give her a good quality of life.
The tigers will be released first thing tomorrow, but before that can happen, Johanna, Barbara and Rhino from the FOUR PAWS team want to check out the enclosures.
Trees and there's a pool down there and it's another house there.
The tigers will first be released into smaller adaptation enclosures, while the permanent enclosures are being completed. This will help them to acclimatize, because moving animals from very small spaces directly to large areas can cause them stress.
Look at this. Wow. It's so deep. It's so big.
And it's not even filled. I mean...
The enclosures have been specifically designed to give the tigers a stimulating environment. Half a hectare of space with plenty of enrichment features.
The idea of this, it's just they need sometimes, of course, shelter from rain, from hot weather, and also for their privacy.
To help the tigers transition to their new home, keeper Juno van Son will be a familiar face that remains with them until they move into their permanent enclosures.
It is better than I expected, actually. If I looked at enclosures on the pictures, but now seeing it for myself, yeah, it's really amazing. I think they will do great here.
the following morning, and the moment has finally arrived when the tigers can be released. But the Four Paws team aren't taking any risks.
I'm gonna make up a dart in case we have a problem that one of the animals goes through a fence or something. And because we won't have the time to make it when it happens, I'm gonna have it ready and loaded in case there's an emergency.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the very exciting day of the release of the 4 tigers that are still waiting patiently in the boxes. Safety is number one, and we have here on site 2 people with rifles. They are ready to protect us if it's necessary, but please don't make it possible.
Rafik and Mirza are already in the enclosures, having been released the previous evening.
So basically yesterday we released the 2 males you can see on the left-hand side because of medical conditions. Rafik was very, very, very stressed. So we decided he needed to go out and he needs to have some time to adjust to the enclosure. Because of the light fading, only those could be released yesterday because it wouldn't have been safe to release them in darkness because they can't see the fences and there's a possibility to run into them and they need to acclimatize. They both have done really, really well. You can see they're lying down. They're still a little bit on the stressed side, but that's normal. They're not used to people, they're not used to cars.
Looking at Rafik's crate, it quickly becomes apparent why he had to be released early.
You can see he just ate the floor completely almost. He hadn't ever experienced something like this. And was also one of the big problems was there were so many people out there. And I think the combination of all those factors just made it so stressful for him that he just, went crazy,
It's a graphic reminder of how powerful tigers are, and also of the unpredictability of wild animals. The crates are placed hard up against the enclosure door to avoid the risk of one of the tigers escaping.
Okay.
First to be released is Juno, the mother.
Oh. You know. Oh.
Not surprisingly, it takes quite a while before she's comfortable about venturing outside the crate.
Come on, girl. You can do it. Yeah. Watch the tail. Yep. So many new sounds and smells.
Next, the father, Cromwell. He's a little bit more eager to leave his crate.
Ja hoor, de relaxedheid zelf. It's the first time in 10 years that he's walking on grass. Must be so confusing for him. Hey, hi. Hey, welcome home.
The cubs were born at Felida and have never seen grass or experienced enclosures like this. For them, it's a strange new world and very unsettling.
Hey. Hey. Come say hello. Hey. Hey, Ras. They're preparing Sita.
Here they come.
Everything seems fine. Now it's just a matter of waiting to see how well the tigers settle into their new surroundings. Two days later, Dr. Peter Caldwell receives the blood test results for Gypsy.
Now, I was extremely happy to see that there were no abnormalities. Her kidney function is perfect, her liver function is perfect. And in general, on the inside, she's a healthy cat, a healthy lion. So the only issues that we're going to have to deal with is to keep her pain-free. She's just got an amazing personality and a will to want to live. And just that alone is enough for me to want to keep her going. And I think she deserves the opportunity to have a good quality life. For everything she's gone through, I think she deserves it.
A good quality of life is also what the tiger family is now enjoying. It's been several months since they arrived at Lionsrock. They're finally in their permanent enclosures. And they're thriving.
It was after, I think, 5-6 weeks when we had everything done also, and when they were adapted well and settled in well, that we could release them to the big enclosure. It was actually very funny because they first went out, you know, like testing the ground and checking it out, and at the moment we're still hesitating, but after I think 10 minutes, they started running and running up and down and chasing each other, and you could really see that they were surprised that they could run so far, you know. It was really the first time that they could really run.
The space to roam, engaging environment, and an active lifestyle is providing clear benefits. The tigers are healthy, inquisitive, and playful.
This kind of thing is really nice if you can see it firsthand, and you can see how they are enjoying it and how they check out everything, and of course then you know that all this was done, you know it was worth everything, and you know that they will have a really good life from there on.
So often, wild animals are the casualties of our human existence. Killed for profit. Their habitats under threat, made to live in cramped spaces, poorly fed. They're destined to live out their lives in misery unless someone takes action. Wild Animal Rescue follows the people from the international animal welfare charity 4 Paws as they go on daring and sometimes dangerous rescue missions to give animals a better life. In this episode, 4 Paws works with other organizations to find new homes for the animals they've rescued, including a new purpose-built sanctuary in Jordan.
And it's the first time ever that they have felt the natural earth under their paws.
And a rhino orphanage in South Africa facing the constant threat of poachers. But despite the risk and the difficulty of raising these endangered animals, they're managing to successfully return them to the wild.
I'm excited to see them be wild rhino family.
Amman, the capital of Jordan. It's a big day for a number of animals that have been rescued by the international animal welfare organization 4 Paws, transported to Amman and temporarily housed in a transit center. 4 Paws are working with a local charity to create the Al Mawa Sanctuary, a new home for rescued animals, about an hour's drive from the city. Today, many of the animals will be moved from the transit camp to Al Mawa. While they're not going a huge distance, anesthetizing and then moving a large number of animals, including lions, tigers, and a bear, means it's not going to be easy.
We have 3 teams. We have the darting teams under the leadership of Dr. Zain. We have the examination team up, which is with Dr. Frank and his team, and we have a transport or transfer team.
Many of these animals Dr. Khalil knows well, having coordinated and led the rescue missions that brought them here, like the 2 young lions, Max and Mona, originally rescued from Gaza, and now much bigger.
I believe they are very, very curious what's going on in the other place.
Despite it being only a temporary stop, the conditions here are considerably better than back in Gaza. The center was set up with financial assistance from the Princess Alia Foundation, following local concern about many animals being kept in substandard conditions.
We went to the very first meeting. The mayor said, well, there are these zoos that are very bad. Can you do something about those? Yes, of course, we'll try and do something about them. And we had no idea really how to start. And then after that, we heard that Dr. Amir was coming, looking for a regional solution for the illegal trafficking of wildlife. So literally within a couple of days, they transformed it into somewhere that could receive wild animals. Sort of a baptism of fire in a way. We're thrown in the deep end.
At first, Jordan was seen as a transit point.
This was like a transit station, and from here we moved the first animal from here to South Africa to Lionsrock.
But flying animals the 8,000 kilometers from Jordan to South Africa is expensive and risky.
Started the idea why every time when we rescue an animal to move it far away, many thousands of kilometers. And it came the idea that we have to realize a sanctuary which could help not only in Jordan, but help in all the Middle East.
With the first stage of the project now complete and ready to take in its first lot of animals, it's a historic day for Dr. Khalil and the Four Paws team, and Mahdi, the director of the Al Mawwa Sanctuary.
You know, this is our biggest move. This is the first time that something like this has been done, but at least on the regional level. No one before moved that number of animals and those species. It's something that everyone should be proud of to be part of this.
Formalities over, they move off to look at the equipment that has been brought in for the move. Dr. Guritz, the chief vet on the Four Paws team, wants access holes in the crates in case of emergencies.
Even we have to dart the animal inside for any reason, for not sedation, for giving. We need access with the dart gun.
Next, the team visit the animals that are going to be shifted. First, the big cats. The 2 tigers were rescued as cubs as they were smuggled across the Jordanian border. The 5 lions came from different places and had been introduced to each other to make a new pride. And Baloo, the brown bear, came from a zoo where he was very badly treated. The move couldn't come soon enough as there is a constant stream of new arrivals. And they're not only large animals like lions and tigers.
So those are our vervet monkeys. Hey!
Many of these animals are casualties of illegal animal trafficking.
You know, Jordan is the corridor in between different countries. So this is why we are very prone to illegal trade and smugglings through the borders, I mean.
And all sorts of things keep arriving.
Iguana? A ranger just came and he has another set of confiscation. We have here green iguana.
We're the only rescue center in Jordan and probably in the whole region. It's like a must that we take all the animals that they call and say, please take it. Because otherwise the animal would die. They've got no option to take it anywhere else. So yeah, even when it comes to reptiles, we do take reptiles. Snakes, crocodiles.
Everyone has to pitch in, even Princess Alia herself.
3 small alligators that we had. And there was suddenly a phone call, it was the winter, and the electricity had gone off down at the centre. And of course, they need a lot of warmth. I said, well, you better send them up, and we'll put them in the dining room because it's the hottest room in the house. And the next day, there was someone formal who was supposed to entertain for lunch. I said, well, I can't have them in the dining room because it has alligators and snakes in there. Sorry, crocodiles. I thought this is a little bit bizarre.
The Four Paws team are on the road to the new sanctuary 40 kilometers north of Amman. Establishing the reserve required the support of local and international organizations and the Jordanian government, which helped build a new road to allow access to its hilly location.
And we have 4 enclosures down, this way. Okay, for the move for tomorrow.
A large forest was gifted to the Princess Alia Foundation and provides the perfect setting for the sanctuary. Eventually, it's hoped the new center will become an educational resource for locals and tourists. At the end of the day, the team debrief and go over the final plans for the morning.
More important is we work without any stress, really controlled. So we're focusing on doing the procedure well instead of doing as much animals as possible.
But a last-minute emergency means the day's not over. An injured fox has been brought into the center. It's still alive, but in a bad state. Highly experienced wildlife vet, Dr. Thomas Hildebrandt, conducts the examination.
A trauma, and we were looking for free blood inside the abdominal cavity. We're looking for the condition of the liver.
The ultrasound shows the abdominal organs of the fox are all okay, but there are other indications to suggest the fox is in a bad way.
That's very obvious. If you first, this eye region is swollen, and if we expose it, you see the sclera is very, very red. And the other, so if it could be also an infection, then the sclera gets also red, but if you check the other eye, it is absolutely normal. Something, an injury, could be a car, could be a bicycle, could, yeah, something.
These symptoms suggest bleeding in the skull. They decide to x-ray the fox. Sadly, this confirms the bleeding. Unfortunately, there's little they can do except to keep the fox sedated and hope it survives the night. Four Paws works with other organizations all over the world. The Fundumvelo Tula Tula Rhino Orphanage is a wildlife reserve in South Africa, founded by conservationist Lawrence Anthony, who was renowned for his work with elephants. He was called the Elephant Whisperer. He actually lived alongside them for a month every year, and he encouraged a herd of elephants to become established on land he had set aside for them. Lawrence passed away in 2012, but it appears he's not been forgotten by the animals he loved so much.
Since Lawrence's death, the elephants come to Lawrence Anthony's house. I witnessed it twice. They didn't come straight to the fence, but they came from the other side of the reserve, walking here and coming up, and then they just walk like that. But it's crazy to see. I mean, Lawrence was part of the herd. He literally lived for almost a month with them. So every year since the death of Lawrence, they come back to main house.
What makes it especially remarkable is that the herd comes on the very day that Lawrence died. Tula Tula is still owned and run by his wife, Françoise. But since 2009, it's also been home for a rhino orphanage, offering a home to young rhino that have lost their parents due to the activity of poachers. Despite being highly illegal, the slaughter of rhino for their horns continues at an alarming rate. The Tula Tula Rhino Orphanage is run by Karen Trendler with help from Four Paws. Karen is one of the world's leading experts on this endangered species. Ituba is the most recent arrival at the orphanage, having lost his mother a couple of months ago.
This little boy Ituba comes from a reserve quite close to here. They've had a number of poaching incidents on the reserve. His mother was poached.
At 6 months old, he's still a baby in rhino terms, and not yet able to fend for himself in the wild.
On arrival, he was so traumatized. He then just hated humans. He was smashing himself against the barriers. And on about the 5th day, he suddenly decided, okay, he's going to accept us.
Karen and her team do their best to be surrogates, which means round-the-clock attention, even when he's resting.
They're incredibly tactile. So although this looks like bunny hugging and very cute, it's actually a part of giving him comfort and taking him through the trauma.
Alison is one of Ituba's 3 keepers, along with Axel and Megan.
We're all going to be covered in mud. I can see it. It helps me to get rid of the ticks, protects me from the sun. When I feel hot, I just jump right in here.
What makes this orphanage different is that the young rhino have limited contact with only a small number of humans, 3 permanent volunteers plus Karen. Other places tend to have a larger number of volunteers, which can make the rhinos more comfortable around humans. And that makes them an easy target for poachers.
Oh, good boy.
In the wild, Ituba would be totally dependent on his mother, who would suckle him for up to 12 months and give him constant attention.
Oh, you want to play? Izzy, it's me, it's me, it's me.
Being a playmate is exhausting work, and not without risk, with Ituba outweighing them and being able to run twice as fast.
A few times he caught up with me. I wasn't running fast enough, so instead of running into me, he just cut the corner around me and kept going. So I was concerned for a minute, but he decided, I'm not going to kill you today, Meg. You have another day to live. And I appreciate that. It's so fast!
This may look like play, but it's actually an important part of Ituba's rehabilitation, getting him used to interacting with other animals.
The aim is to get him in with other rhino or other calves as well, so that he's got companions and he's completely socialized. Every calf that we can put back into the population that can behave and breed as a rhino is a conservation win.
Within the walls of this enclosure, Ituba is safe, but outside in the reserve, there lurks an ever-present danger.
And it all looks peaceful and calm. that in fact the staff and his carers have been on edge.
They're on edge because evidence of poaching has been found nearby. At Tula Tula Rhino Orphanage, Karen Trendler and her small team of volunteers raise young rhino like Ituba.
You got new teeth coming through. Are you teething a bit?
Ituba's mother was slaughtered by poachers because rhino horn is worth astronomical sums to international syndicates on the black market. Currently, it fetches $90,000 per kilogram, which makes it more valuable than gold. In an area suffering from poverty, the ability to earn encourages poachers, but it's the syndicates that make the big money. Poachers are usually heavily armed, making them a threat not just to the rhino, but also to the staff.
And there have been post-mortems that we've done on poaching incidents where we have found bullets that have been from 2 or 3 previous poaching incidents.
The situation has become so critical that Karen has been forced to call in anti-poaching experts to advise and help improve security. They've looked over the reserve and surrounding area, and what they've found isn't good.
20, 30 snares.
Yeah.
They knocking maybe 2 or 3 impala. When they come in, they load those up. It's close to the road. Then they exit. These carcasses are lying all over the place.
So it's close to here?
In that valley there.
Yeah.
Mark has found evidence of game poaching on the reserve. This is a real worry, as quite apart from the destruction or theft of the animals, it's only a small step for them to go after one of the valuable rhinos. There are already guards on the reserve, but Mark is suggesting a more hard-nosed military approach.
Never been one for guns and weapons, and I've always sort of steered away from them. But for me, this morning, standing in the kitchen, just having like all the camouflage and the weapons around, there was this strange sense of safety.
Despite feeling safe, Karen's not comfortable with more guns and guards.
For you guys, it's life. For us, we don't go into this to be weapons and thinking like criminals and snaring. You go in because you love animals, and you're suddenly forced into thinking a different way.
Karen thinks she has good reason to fear for her rhino's safety, especially in the wider reserve, where one of the adult rhinos has a strange injury to one of its ears.
Just that much of her ear was taken off. It wasn't a snare, there's something else very funny on the go, and Alison says subsequently talking to her guys, they also don't feel that it was something normal. Let's go look.
This is a good opportunity to treat the wound.
The wound's not healing so well, so we just need to try and get a better look and treat as much as we can in a short space of time.
While they're looking for injured rhino, Mark outlines more of his plan to beef up the security.
See, what I do with my guys is I'll load up everybody. I'll go and pull guns from everywhere, and I just go with 3 bucky loads full of oaks, and it's just guns everywhere.
It doesn't take long to find the rhino with the ear wound and her mate.
I'm going to lure them to the car so we can look at her wound. Are you ready, Nunez? Hello, Nunu. There it is. Oh, she's perfect.
Alison reared Ntombi and Tabo from calves, so they trust her to get close enough to daub the wound with antiseptic and healing ointment.
Sorry, Nunu. It's all for your own good. But you see the scratches?
Mark mentions that his men found a hyena caught in a poacher's snare, so they decide to take a look. Poachers face harsh penalties if they're caught.
Christmas Day, I caught a rhino poacher, me and my associates here, this guy called Poacher. We arrest them, we take them to a police station, we lay cases against them, trespassing on private property. With the horn and the weapon in his possession, he goes to jail for life.
Oh, no. He suffered, this poor boy. He fought like...
See the
strain in his...
The snares aren't selective, so lots of other animals die unnecessarily. This hyena was of no value for the poachers, which is why it's been left here. It's heartbreaking for Karen.
This hyena's got to me. I don't know why it's got to me so much. Maybe it's just cumulative, or... I don't know why, it just has.
Seeing this makes her even more worried about the safety of her rhino and her staff.
You must understand, if you're pulling your people out,
You're going to have
it's
someone
a
in
month.
here.
You need somebody to cover you.
We've got to keep 2 rhino guards on, or 4 rhino guards.
You need 4.
Because of night and day.
Day and night.
And then 2 to do the bush.
If you want to be effective, a team that strolls and monitors
all the time,
checks the bush, checks perimeters, live in the bush. They don't come back to the house. I want them out here all the time. They can set up a camp in the bush.
For the sake of the rhino, it's got to be sorted before another one is admitted.
At the Jordan Transit Center, the FOUR PAWS team are up early preparing for the long day ahead. Dr. Guritz is setting up the examination area and Dr. Shahin gets the anesthetic darts ready. First up are 5 lions. They didn't grow up together, but since coming to the center, they've shared the same enclosure.
Very exciting, and I think it's very good that we managed to introduce the animals together. Like, it was like 2 individuals, and then we did an introduction, and then we did a second introduction. So it's very nice to see them all together as a one pride, going all together to a new place. Very exciting. Yeah, it's definitely very exciting.
Once it's clear the dart has taken full effect, the first lion is carefully shifted. Many of these animals have little or no medical background because they were rescued from places that didn't keep records. So while they're sedated, it's a good opportunity to do a full checkup in the temporary examination area. While the first animal is being checked, the next patient is darted and moved. So far, everything is going smoothly, and the first lion is in good shape.
We checked the heart so far and the kidneys, and these organs look very good, very healthy.
After the animal has had its medical check, it's loaded into one of the crates. Dr. Guritz administers an antidote to the anesthetic to bring the lion out of deep sedation. It won't wake him up completely because it's better for the animal if he's partially sedated during the trip. The next lion arrives and another checkup ensues. It's an exhaustive process. They take blood samples and scan with ultrasound and X-rays to get an overall sense of the animal's health. And this animal appears to be in relatively good health as well. If this continues, they will definitely make their end-of-day deadline.
So far, we stick to the schedule. So now we are waiting for the 3rd animal. And so far, we didn't find any major pathology, which is good.
But their luck runs out with the 4th lion, a 7-year-old female.
Yeah, she is from outside a very healthy animal, but inside with ultrasound we found some difficult observations which indicates that she has a health problem. The major health problem is based in the heart. The heart is not contracting enough. It is slightly dilated, and that means she's actually a quite sick animal.
The vet decides she's well enough to make the journey today, but they will need to keep an eye on her. The first crates are loaded onto the trucks as the last lion is readied for examination.
Summer is the 5th lion for the day. We have just started her, and we're waiting her to sleep, obviously. Once she's sleeping, we'll just go do the general examination, and off we go.
Summer is in reasonable health, so now they can load all the crates. They find branches to put over the crates to shield the animals from the intense sun. Their destination is about an hour's journey from Amman, up in the mountains. But just when everything seems to be going according to plan, the truck driver reports a problem with his brakes. With the road being relatively steep, he can't go on until they're fixed. This is a real worry. It's the hottest time of the day, and the animals are sweltering inside their crates.
What happened? I think the pressure tube went off.
If they don't get the truck moving soon, they risk losing some of them. It's 1 year later at the Rhino orphanage, and it's been an eventful year, especially for Karen Trendler. Diagnosed with cancer, she's been receiving chemotherapy while trying to manage and care for more and more orphaned rhinos.
Part of this whole cancer thing for me was that sudden thing of, oh my goodness, I'm not going to make it. I mean, I really was. And I haven't taught enough, I haven't shared enough, I haven't become a driving thing now, is rather than do it myself, to start sharing and teaching.
Axel is one of a number of permanent volunteers who work here and learn about the intricacies of rhino care.
But because rhino can't digest the rice, you have to blend it. It's like a very disgusting liquid thing. It doesn't look tasty, but he likes it. That's the most important. That's all Karen's expertise.
Axel has become particularly fond of two black rhinos.
Black rhino are very inquisitive, curious, and very, very clever. That's crazy. I mean, they talk much more. These ones, they just, Storm, for example, just talk all the time to you, just come to you and see where you are and just start to like that, you know. So Karen says they talk about the weather.
Nandi came to Tula Tula when she was about 2 months old, after her mother had been killed by poachers. Then, a week later, Storm arrived.
Yeah, we are going to give them milk because they are hungry.
Two little miracle black rhino.
Yes, you want. So that's Storm.
At first, Storm was very sick, unable to hold down food and losing weight. It was touch and go, but after keeping him in isolation with round-the-clock nursing, he started to improve.
Just saying to Axel, there's something so relaxing and comforting just listening to them eating.
This have to be my favourite too.
With the black, you like them?
Have to be my favourite.
Rhino have acquired the reputation of being unintelligent, but Axel has discovered that Nandi and Storm are actually very smart.
And one thing I was very surprised is they were around 4 months old. And they were in the neonatal unit, and we had to close the barrier. It was a system with a latch to lock it. And I don't know how, one morning I woke up with a rhino next to me. I was just, what happened? I'm sure I locked it. And during the day, I saw that both of them understood that it was a latch, so with the top lip, they were just lifting it and just come walk around. It's very clever, you know.
Another recent arrival has made friends with the dog. Her name, Mokosi, came after a chance meeting with Zulu royalty at a petrol station. She was a very sick little calf, and Karen was transporting her to the orphanage.
And we were at the garage in Pongola, and these Zulu royal family came across. And they said, well, what have you got in the vehicle? And we said, a rhino. And they explained to us that the Zulu royalty is linked with rhino. And they said, could we have the honor of naming her? So the Zulu queen named her Mokosi, which is leader.
As if a dog and rhino aren't unusual enough playmates, Mokosi's best friend is a hippo.
Charlie, the hippo, his pod just left him completely. He was abandoned. And they couldn't work out what had happened. And when he was brought into us, he was also really, really tiny. And we had them in the same room the night that she arrived, with a barrier between them. And little Mokosi just would not settle. By 3 a.m. in the morning, I was absolutely frantic. She was just beside herself. So I took a chance and dropped the barrier between the hippo and the rhino, and they went like this, lay on the mattress, and that's been ever since. Charlie, really?
Axel's getting their dinner ready, but it appears they're in no rush to eat. What lies beyond the gate seems to be of more interest. Karen's efforts to persuade them to come back to the main house don't seem to be working. Neither does Axel's unusual suggestion.
Going to tickle your bum.
Rhino and hippos have poor eyesight, so neither Mokosi nor Charlie are likely to see a milk bottle from that distance. But they both have a very keen sense of smell, and eventually they realize food is on offer. In Jordan, the big shift of animals by the Four Paws team has come to a dead stop.
As usual, something expected is unexpected, we see all the time. So everything was fine, and now we have problem with the brake, so the pressure. So we have to stop, and the driver tried to repair the car. I hope in the next few minutes we will move. Just to know.
It's the middle of the day. There's no shade, and the team are getting worried about the welfare of the animals inside the transport crates.
So we're cutting some grass or some branches to cover the crates. So it's not an ideal situation for the animals.
But there's a distinct lack of trees and bushes on the side of the road. The Four Paws team gives serious thought to using large bunches of carrots instead. And just when the carrot seller is thinking it could be a very successful day, the brake problem is fixed and the truck is off again.
Very good, very good.
precious cargo arrives. It's a significant moment. The first animals to be housed at the Al Mahwa Sanctuary. Princess Alia is a patron and has come to watch. This moment represents the culmination of years of effort and cooperation between Four Paws and many different organizations, including her own charity. Even now, when they're just about to be released, the team are still doing their best to keep the animals cool. It's been a big journey for these 5 lions, originally housed in poor living conditions, then moved to the transit center, and now, finally, they're here.
Can't cry in front of all of you guys, but yeah, it's just unbelievable.
At 5:40 we left. Very long day, but I'm happy that the 5 lions are endally safe here with some logistic troubles on the road, with the truck, with some complications. But luckily we are here now, and with effort, big effort from the team, I believe the team succeeded to release the first 5 lions, and it's a great day for all the team here. So we're very, very happy for the success till now.
Tensions are high at Tula Tula Rhino Orphanage following recent signs of animal poachers being active in the area. Manager Karen Trendler has engaged a permanent unit to patrol the reserve.
There are reports at the moment that syndicates that were operating Kruger, now with the increased security, are now operating here. So we're on high alert again. You know, we get used to living like that, but new volunteers coming in or new people coming in just don't have any idea as to, you know, the level of threat that we're under constantly.
The security team is stepping up its activities. Today, they're running a training exercise, teaching a dog to track someone hiding in the bush.
We're gonna go out and show you how if we find something, we find suspect or some food tracks.
The dog is given a scent to follow.
So I'll take my dog to track and see if we can find any suspect in the bush that was poaching.
If this were real, it would be a life or death situation for these guards. With poachers facing life in prison if caught, they usually shoot when they're discovered. So these rangers have to be prepared to shoot back and shoot to kill. This level of force doesn't sit well with Karen.
Shoot the poachers, you know, shoot to kill, good policy. But people forget what the impact it has on the ranger. That he's taken someone's life, that he's been put into a position where he's had to protect his own life by shooting someone. If he comes from the same community as the ranger, you know, the poacher that he shot, there have been rangers that have had to actually move out of their communities completely because they've been threatened after.
It doesn't take the dog long to find the pretend poacher in a tree. As much as Karen wishes she didn't have this sort of activity on the reserve, it's essential she does her bit to combat the ever-increasing poaching problem.
And even in South Africa, people are actually unaware of how serious the problem is. We've got transnational organized crime on an incredibly big level operating in this country. It's a war. It changes the situation. And even more frightening than that is it's not just rhino. The illegal trade in wildlife, the poaching of wildlife and wildlife parts on a global level is almost equal to the drug and the weapons trade. So really what we're doing is one tiny part of a much, much bigger global onslaught.
Four Paws is very central to this global effort. Back at the transit center in Jordan, the team are beginning another day of moving animals to the Al Mahwa Sanctuary. But they're off to a bad start with some sad news about the injured fox brought in yesterday.
Unfortunately, the fox died. He died from a brain edema, which means the brain grows bigger and bigger and the skull compresses the brain, and that makes it very severe.
Every animal is important to the team, and they did all they could for the fox. Now they have to focus on shifting 2 tigers and a brown bear. The tiger's response to being darted by Dr. Geritz is very different to the way the lions responded the previous day.
So I guess it was a real proof that tigers are have more temperament than lions, so they're a little bit more suspicious.
Once the first tiger is anesthetized, it goes for a medical check. These two tigers were victims of a smuggling operation when they were small cubs. Customs officers found them hidden in a cat carrier, covered in feces, dirty and very aggressive. They've been at the centre for more than 2 years now. The first one appears to be in good health. The second tiger has been darted and is ready to be brought in for its checkup. And he will be followed by Baloo the bear. Baloo was spotted languishing in pitiful conditions in a local zoo by one of the co-founders of the Princess Alia Foundation.
She saw Baloo and she came back and she said, "You've got to get that bear," because, you know, it was such a sad situation.
One dart doesn't seem to have much effect.
The dose wasn't enough, so we had to administer a second dart so he could sleep. He's quite fat, that's why.
So the problem is that if you don't know the animal in the background of the health status, and if you don't know the exact weight, it's hard to calculate the exact dosage. And that's the reason why you start with the minimum doses, maybe sometimes if you're not really know the animal, and then you have to take into account the body weight and sometimes if the needle hits a fat pad, then it takes much longer the induction. So the ideal thing is the needle goes straight into the muscle, and then the induction time is much shorter.
Eventually, the second dart takes effect. Once Dr. Guritz is satisfied Baloo is asleep, they have the challenge of moving him. Not an easy task when he weighs at least 3 times the weight of an average man. More tranquilizer is given to ensure Baloo doesn't wake up.
No. He will fall down by this way.
3, good.
And then he's given a comprehensive medical examination, including an ultrasound of his chest cavity.
And there's no fluid around the heart. It's not a beautiful view, but it's absolutely okay.
Apart from being overweight, Baloo is in good health. That means it's safe to transport him to the sanctuary. The teams from 4 Paws and Al Mawa work closely together to get these last 3 animals into their crates.
Yeah, go slowly.
Hands away.
Yeah.
And then the truck heads out with its precious cargo. Hopefully the trip will go more smoothly than it did yesterday. At Tula Tula Rhino Orphanage, Karen Trendler reveals how she came to be involved in caring for young orphaned rhino.
I never chose to work with rhino. I was doing small mammals, birds, just general game from a rehab and rescue point of view.
But then a rhino conservationist sent her a baby rhino to save. Born premature, there was very little chance it would survive.
And against all odds, total ignorance, we kept the calf alive. And it opened up a floodgate of rhino. There was no choice in it, they just came. And the more you work with them, the more you begin to be passionate about them, the more you see of them. And then when you see them being poached at the rate they are, when you see the brutality, when you see their numbers dropping, it becomes more than just a passion for them, it becomes an absolute fierceness, a desire to protect them. So it's about protecting them now, but also thinking in the future. Can you imagine saying to kids, sorry, we let the rhino die on our watch?
This morning, Charlie the hippo and Mukosi the rhino are receiving their regular skin treatment.
In the wild, they would be getting mother's milk and they'd be having proper mud baths and under normal conditions, so the skin is okay. Once you bring them into a captive situation and they're not out in the wild and they're under infrared heating, the skin dries quite a bit. So we give them the aqueous baths and we do regular rubs. It's actually very calming and very relaxing for the rhino. And anything that you can do to keep their stress down and make life more pleasant, the better weight gain they get and the happier they are, the better the long-term chance is for us putting them back into the wild.
There are older rhino at the orphanage that are getting closer to going back into the wild, like Ituba. Axel has cared for Ituba ever since he was first brought to the orphanage.
My first orphan rhino, so yeah, it's a special boy. Ituba, for the first 4 months, you have to spend all the time with them because in the wild they got the mom, it's the big protection, so when they are scared they got this big tank to protect them, so they always seek comfort at a small age. So yeah, that was a quite traumatized baby, But after a few months, yeah, he was fine. He started to grow up and he was more independent.
With no mothers, Axel and the other volunteers must act as surrogates to the young orphans. Not surprisingly, a strong bond forms between human and rhino. However, it can't be allowed to last too long if that animal is ever going to fend for itself in the wild.
And now we arrive at the stage he's been introduced to this free rhino and he doesn't want me anymore. He's the big male, so yeah, he just wants me out, which is good.
Karen's ultimate aim is to return each of her orphan rhinos to the wild.
There's a huge concern when you're rearing rhino. You have to try and find that balance between giving them appropriate mothering and comfort, which entails bonding, having a human bond with that calf. But at the same time, you don't want that little rhino to become too humanized, because when it goes back to the wild, you get problematic, and rhino that is too tame and too used to humans becomes much more vulnerable to poaching.
Obviously, when they grow up, you start to put distance and have less contact. And with a rhino like Ituba, I don't touch him anymore. And he doesn't want me to touch him anyway. He will just knock me away.
The current weaning phase that we're going through with Ituba and with Ituba's group is a critical part of the next stage, which is going to happen within the next 2 to 3 weeks. Ituba and Tando, who are two little bulls who came from the same reserve, are going to be moved to a very large camp. And hopefully in 9 months to 12 months' time, they will be free and wild rhino, which is what this is actually all about.
I'm excited. Maybe the D-Day I will be crying, who knows, But so far I'm very excited. I just want to see them in this big boma and just grazing and be wild rhino family.
Unfortunately, it's not an option to return any of the animals in Jordan to the wild. Raised in captivity, they've never learned the skills and instincts they would need to survive. However, for the 5 lions transported yesterday and the 2 tigers and Balu the bear who are being moved today, a more satisfying and enriching life awaits them at the Al Mawa Sanctuary. Today marks the official opening of the sanctuary. 4 Paws and the Princess Alia Foundation have been working towards this day for more than 2 years.
But today we can really look back on a good development, and it's so good that now the first animals will come here, will get here their new homes, and I think it's a big project for the region here, for the tourism in the region, and also for the people here, to learn about the animals. We want to connect the humans and the animals to bring them together in their minds.
So I think it's really a raising of awareness on really learning that this is what an animal should be like, not, come and see it in the zoo and, it's lying down and half dead.
Dignitaries, media, the 4 Paws and Al Mawa teams all watch nervously as the transport crates are unloaded and positioned in the enclosures for the release. Before long, the first tiger comes out. He's still feeling the effects of the sedation. Balu the bear plays it safe, giving his new surroundings a cursory once-over before retreating back into the privacy of his crate.
There were a lot of people around, talking, chatting, whatever, so that was not easy for him. And bless him, he's got a point, I think.
The second tiger shows no ill effects from the trip. Clearly, he wasn't happy with the indignity of being cooped up in a box and wants everyone to know it. It will take several days before all the moved animals settle properly into their new surroundings. However, this has been a very successful start for the new Al Mawa Sanctuary.
I left all my studies in London just to come and be part of that, so I have huge respect to what Al Mawa is doing. It's not easy to be in the region and be alone. We're the only, Al Mawa is the only sanctuary in the whole Middle East. I have seen miracles here coming true, so no, I have huge respect to this organization. And I'm very happy to be part of it. I mean, I'm blessed.
5 lions, 2 tigers and 1 bear could also be feeling very blessed to be at Al Mawa.
It's the first time that they have smelt a tree rolled in in the earth, smelt real nature around them. It's the first time ever they've been off concrete. And to be a part of that, to help in making that happen for any living soul is really such an honor. Look at that.
So often, wild animals are the casualties of our human existence. Killed for profit. Their habitats under threat, made to live in cramped spaces, poorly fed. They're destined to live out their lives in misery unless someone takes action. Wild Animal Rescue follows the people from the international animal welfare charity 4 Paws as they go on daring and sometimes dangerous rescue missions to give animals a better life. In this episode, we follow 4 Paws' efforts to give captive lions a better life.
It was clear that this can't last for long because the situation was deteriorating really visible.
How do these conditions affect the animals, and what's being done to return them to health?
Well, she and he is a hermaphrodite. Inbreeding is the most common cause of hermaphrodites.
And a shocking yet legal industry that's threatening South Africa's lions.
We're breeding very beautiful animals like battery chickens.
This rescue mission centers on 5 lions living in depressing conditions in the town of Baia Mare in Romania. For the last 2 years, they've been kept in these enclosures, a few hundred square meters of concrete floors and walls and steel bars, little bigger than a suburban apartment. And for the majority of that time, their only human contact has been with veterinarian Dr. Adin Miklaus. He knows their history ever since they first came to Baia Mare.
Și au fost aduși în anul 2002 în Baia Mare. Vârsta aproximativă 2 ani, dar nici și aceasta este relativă pentru că pe certificat scria 2 ani. Eu cred că sunt un pic mai în vârstă.
Those age estimates apply to the 3 older lions, Patrica, Lavinia and Lydia. They're siblings and originally performed as part of the Romanian state circus. But in 2002, the male, Patrica, attacked their trainer and they were no longer wanted. At that point, Dr. Miklaus brought them to the Baia Mare City Zoo.
Inițial am fi vrut numai 2, dar fiind 3 și noi având spațiu, au fost aduse la Baia Mare.
Baia Mare is a small city of approximately 130,000 people in the northwest of Romania. Its zoo was one of 36 in the country. But when Romania became part of the European Union in 2007, that all changed.
At that point, a lot of legislation has to be put in place. And one of the pieces of legislation that was necessary for Romania to implement was the zoo directive.
That directive specified certain minimum standards that all zoos had to meet if they were to continue to operate, with one of the most important standards being the welfare of the animals. Like so many zoos in Romania, Baia Mare did not come up to scratch.
Deci grădina zoologică a fost construită în 1950 și cuștile au fost foarte mici. Neavând autorizație de mediu, neavând spațiu propriu pentru animale.
Located in the old part of Baia Mare, the zoo had no more space it could access, and the local council had limited funds to work with.
There were different attempts to buy more land or to find other solutions, but at the end, of course, with no budget and of not being the biggest priority of the city, that was the decision of the council to close the zoo.
The EU legislation states that when a zoo has to close, the animals should be relocated to other institutions which meet the standards. If that isn't an option, then the animals should be euthanized. That was the situation Dr. Miklaus and his colleagues faced back in 2013.
Am încercat toate animalele care au fost, mă rog, vreo 22 de specii, au fost date la instituții autorizate, conform legii, cu spații conforme, cu așa. Leii n-am reușit să-i relocăm pentru că nu i-a dorit nimeni. Așa s-a ajuns la înființarea acestui compromis.
And it truly was a compromise. The council was sympathetic to the plight of the lions and allocated them vacant buildings and yards, with a plant nursery on one side and a rubbish dump on the other. Their new quarters consisted of 2 dark indoor cages and a small outside area where they could exercise. While the lions had been saved from being put down, they'd ended up in even worse conditions than were at the zoo.
Deci la grădina zoologică totuși avea un spațiu cam cel puțin de 3-4 ori mai mare decât aici.
The closure of the zoo also meant they no longer had access to regular veterinary care or good quality food. The council continued to provide a small budget for meat, but no other funding. So all the care, the daily feeding, the cleaning of the enclosure, that has all been done by Dr. Miklaus.
Nu, de 2 ani de zile nu pot să plec, pentru că cu 2 ani de zile nu s-a desființat grădina zoologică, iar colegii au plecat în altă parte.
Dr. Miklaus began searching for a new home for his lions, and that's when he got in touch with Four Paws.
When the call for rescuing them came to us, we visited them, and it was clear that this can't last for long because their situation was deteriorating really visible from a week to another, and especially the winters were very hard there because it was very wet, it was very dark and very cold, and as they are not very young, the parents are 15 years old, this has a very big impact and is deteriorating very fast the condition of the animal.
At Four Paws headquarters in Austria, the staff were assigned the complex task of organizing the transport of 5 lions across international borders. Their destination, the Lionsrock Sanctuary in South Africa. Now the rescue mission is about to start. Dr. Miklaus has been given instructions as how to best prepare the lions for their journey.
În mod normal consumă carne de cal, dar acum, având în vedere că mâine vor urma să fie tranquilizați, am optat pentru niște plămâni, niște organe, ca să fie o mâncare mai ușoară, mai slim.
Having cared for them for so long, Dr. Miklaus has become attuned to subtle changes in their health, their moods, and their eating habits.
Petrica nu e interesat. Este mai slab un pic. Acum are o perioadă întotdeauna, în perioada spre iarnă, parcă slăbea un pic. Nu-mi dau seama, probabil și vârsta, dar nici nu este interesat de mâncare, deci...
The 5 lions are split into 2 groups. Petrica and his mate Lavinia live as a pair, and their offspring, Marine and Tahon, keep company with 15-year-old Lydia, the sibling of the parents. This division began back in Baia Mare Zoo, when Marine and Tahon were born in 2003. At that time, there was a risk Petrica, the father, would attack the small cubs. Having 2 groups in such a small facility has made it difficult for Dr. Miklaus to manage them, particularly when it comes to recreation. The larger space outside provides an area for exercise, fresh air and natural light, but they can't all occupy it at the same time.
Deci erau făcuți cu rândul, încercam să-i țin pe ăia o săptămână înăuntru pe ăștia, să le dădeam drumul consecutiv afară, deci intrau și ieșeau pe rând.
The father, Petrica, has a preference for being outside, and that makes him reluctant to go inside for food.
Dar duce el la mâncare, dar se teme că îl închid iară. În momentul în care mă duc acolo, el va intra. În momentul în care vin acolo, el iese afară să uită la mine. De obicei, de aia, întotdeauna la felinele mari, lucrează 2 oameni. No, dar acum, cum n-am avut, e destul de greu să mergi acolo, să vii aici.
These kinds of issues won't be a problem when they move to their new home in South Africa.
Mă bucur că vor ajunge într-un loc propriu. Parecum m-am și atașat de ei. Dar, în mod cert, trebuie să ajungă acolo unde le este locul.
Over 8,000 kilometers away at Lionsrock in South Africa, the Baia 5 will be joining many lions and other types of big cats rescued from Romania and neighboring European countries. Those feline refugees were very much the driving force behind establishing the sanctuary in 2006.
So it was clear that there is a huge need, and FOUR PAWS decided that if we will create a sanctuary, that it should be in a country or on a continent where the lions are actually coming from and where the habitat and the climate is according to what they need and where they normally would live.
Unfortunately, being in an appropriate environment doesn't cure the animals of all the sickness and infirmities they previously had. Many of them require ongoing care and treatment. Today, there are a series of operations scheduled, and veterinarian Dr. Peter Caldwell is anesthetizing the first lion. As coincidence would have it, the first patient of the day is a former Romanian lion called Akira. Rescued from a Romanian zoo in 2008, she has a large abscess on the underside of her jaw, which needs medical attention. It's obviously causing her pain and to be ill-tempered. Treating Akira is Dr. Gerard Steenkamp, one of only a few dentists specializing in the treatment of wild animals.
Because their teeth are so long, infection has gone in where the tooth is fractured, and you can actually see the abscesses burst out under the chin there.
Dr. Steenkamp has his suspicions as to what's caused the tooth to fracture.
If you look at the canines, you can see there's healthy enamel, and then it stops there, and the tips don't have enamel on them. So there's obviously something in the development of these teeth that went wrong. And so there was a weak spot there, and in the lower jaw, that tooth just snapped.
Many of the rescued big cats arrive at Lionsrock with damaged teeth. The cause is often linked to them being taken away from their mothers at an early age, and their subsequent diet not providing them with many key trace elements.
Calcium and those minerals which are needed to grow bone and cartilages and teeth are mostly not enough given to them when they are growing. And that means then when they are getting older that those bones and teeth are not strong enough and that they break easier.
Before the abscess can be treated, the dental team need to perform a root canal on Akira's fractured tooth. Holes drilled in the base and tip allow them to remove most of the infected tissue. The remaining decaying tissue is flushed out through the abscess that has appeared under her jaw. To complete the procedure, Dr. Steenkamp will have to drill away some of the bone around the abscess and then plug the hole from both sides.
This is the cement that we put into the canal. By now there shouldn't be any bacteria left there, but if there is, it will help to kill them.
While many of Dr. Steenkamp's instruments are common dentist tools, some had to be custom-made to enable him to work with the extremely long teeth found in big cats.
Suturing it closed, and then should be woken up.
Okay, let's pick her up. Let's go.
Left untreated, an infection like this would probably have been fatal, especially in the wild, where lions suffering from serious tooth problems die slowly of starvation because they can't properly chew the game they catch. Thanks to the dental team, the worst Akira will suffer is some discomfort as her wound heals. The day has finally arrived. The 5 lions of Baia Mare are about to leave Romania and the cramped enclosures that have been their home since the town zoo closed in 2013. A large contingent of local and international media have turned up. FOUR PAWS has sent a team of specialists from Romania and Germany, experts in transporting large, dangerous predators.
We will have a look at the facilities and then want to have a talk to the veterinarian who took care about the lions over the last 15 years. So and then we discussed in our team how to proceed.
Even before the examinations are done, it's very obvious to the team that Dr. Miklaus has done all he can to look after the lions, despite a lack of resources and funding.
They're well cared for. They've been treated with respect by the veterinarian who saved their lives.
Saved their lives and made them a big part of his life. It will be hard for Dr. Miklaus to see them go.
Sentimentele sunt împărțite, mă bucur. În primul rând mă bucur că am reușit să-i relocăm. Asta încercăm de cel puțin mai mult, de 2 ani și ceva.
Each lion will be tranquilized. Then medical assessments will be performed to ensure he or she is in fit condition to go into a purpose-built travel crate and make the long trip to South Africa.
There will be a detailed inspection of the teeth, of their eyes, of the bones. So there will be really a lot of parameters that are going to be checked.
Marine is up first. He's one of the 2 offspring of Patrika and Lavinia.
Also very skinny. So the darting outside, it's better, but the only thing which is not good, if he is going to sleep in the middle.
Dr. Goeritz is worried that after being darted, Marine could fall asleep in the middle of the cage. If this happens, then it becomes very difficult to tell whether he's properly tranquilized, and that makes it potentially dangerous for someone to enter the cage. Fortunately, Marine falls asleep in the back corner of the cage, within easy reach.
There are very sensitive areas, the ear, the nose, the tail tip. So to check how his ear is running.
Before commencing the health checks, they move Marine closer to the cage entrance to ensure a quick getaway if he wakes up.
Put it with the head there. That when he is getting good. Okay, now we can all the checkups, temperature.
It's common for captive lions to have a number of health issues, usually caused by poor diet, lack of exercise, and not enough exposure to sunlight.
He's a little bit skinny. Definitely got the wrong diet. The really black feces, it's a lot of liver and heart, and so it's...
The inadequate diet over the last few years and all the hard metallic surfaces in the enclosure make it very likely his teeth have been damaged.
It's abnormal use here. Occlusion. No, it's not occlusion. That's
it's not occlusion.
This is
metal bars.
Metal bars.
The metal bars.
But in general, the teeth looks not too bad.
With the checks complete, the team load Marine into the travel crate. Once inside, the vets will give him an antidote to help him come around from the anesthesia.
Marine is first loaded. It's great. He's now calm, so I hope that he will not give any alarm signals to the other ones, because he knows what was going on. So hopefully he doesn't tell them, hey guys, watch out. There's a guy here with a gun, so hopefully. But he will sleep now, he will get the antidote, we will close the doors, and he will be the first ready to go.
Have a nice journey.
Back at Lionsrock, the operations are continuing, but this one isn't a dental operation. Wildlife veterinarian Dr. Peter Caldwell is dealing with the unusual case of Fiona, a 9-year-old lioness who doesn't look like a lioness.
Well, she and he is a hermaphrodite. She's got an overdeveloped clitoris in her vulvar region, which is a very good sign that she is a hermaphrodite. And she's got 2 scrotal sacs without any testes in, and she tends to want to mate with other lions. So we're going to go and see what kind of sex organs she's got and then remove them, because if there is a uterus in there, there's a potential for an infection.
Having both sex organs in the one lion is unusual but not unheard of. Typically, it's caused by a lack of genetic diversity in the breeding population, resulting in closely related animals mating with one another.
Congenital genetics, yeah. Inbreeding is the most common cause of hermaphrodites in the lion population.
These kind of genetic abnormalities are rife at breeding farms. Fiona was rescued from one of these places, as were a number of lions here at Lionsrock. Ironically, before Four Paws bought this property, the land was used to farm lions.
It was a game farm and a breeding farm for game and as well as for lions mainly. He also had cub betting, he had young lions here at the lodge.
Lionsrock may have been turned into a sanctuary, but there are many places where lions are still being bred. Some estimates suggest that there are 7,000 lions being raised in captivity in South Africa.
We're breeding very beautiful, very intelligent, very long-lived social animals like battery chickens.
You see a lot of these breeding facilities, specifically in this country. The conditions that these animals are raised are so poor, unhygienic, and the people that do it are totally oblivious of any veterinary and medical and health aspects of these animals.
The purpose of all these breeding farms is to provide lions for South Africa's hunting industry and also the lion blood and bone industry.
In order to provide a constant supply of living targets, the hunting industry has had to turn to captive breeding.
Lions living in the wild are rare now, and not many countries allow them to be shot. To shoot one costs upward of $100,000 and entails a trip to somewhere like Tanzania.
It's much cheaper to fly out to South Africa and have a lion ready-made to be shot.
Shooting a lion bred in captivity costs around $50,000, and it's anything but a fair contest. Typically, the lion is released into a small area, and being accustomed to humans makes it an easy target.
The target animal is unfairly restrained from escaping the hunter, either by physical constraints such as fencing, or by mental constraints such as being habituated and bottle-fed and raised by humans.
Shooting captive lions is called canned hunting. It's legal in South Africa. It generates a lot of money, and it relies on the existence of the lion farms.
I feel that that is unethical. It is something that is cruel. I think the lions do know and realize it, and they have feelings as well. And I'm totally against it from a personal point of view, and I feel there's no need for it, and I feel that the revenue generated for something like that is not nearly enough to justify what actually happens with these animals. I've seen enough to be totally against it.
Fiona's sexual abnormalities are no doubt a result of lion breeding for the canned hunting industry. So operating on her is one way for Dr. Caldwell to express his opposition to those practices. Genetic issues aside, Fiona also has a large tumor on one of her nipples that needs urgent attention. This could be a long and potentially dangerous operation.
Most likely a melanoma. That's a highly malignant tumor, but it could just be granulation tissue as well from lying on the stomach and it rubbing, and chronic irritation can cause melanomas and basal cell carcinomas and all sorts of types of cancer, or neoplastic type of cancer.
At Lionsrock, Dr. Peter Caldwell is performing surgery on Fiona. She has a serious cancerous tumor which has to be removed. But first, he wants to investigate her sexual organs. She's an hermaphrodite, meaning she has the sex organs of both female and male lions.
There is a male organ in there.
Dr. Caldwell intends to spay Fiona, which entails removing her uterus and other sexual organs.
I'm tying off the uterus and the ovary. Everything's not where it should be.
It turns out the spaying is the easy part of the surgery. As he explores further inside Fiona's abdomen, he discovers a network of blood vessels where there shouldn't be any.
So this is a situation in here.
Tracking exactly where the blood vessels go requires a much larger incision than normally happens for a spay.
Initially I didn't make it wide enough, that's why I didn't see that blood vessel supplying this growth here. And it was branching off. It was branching off the blood vessel that goes to the uterus, which is most unusual. It's actually the first time I've seen that.
The blood vessel is connected to the nipple that has become a tumor. Normally, a spay would take around half an hour, but Fiona has now been in surgery for almost 2 hours.
She's not relaxed enough, eh?
Throughout the operation, Nurse Angelique manages the anesthesia. It's a constant balancing act, making sure Fiona is relaxed, but not so deeply sedated that her vital functions slow down too much.
She's breathing a bit faster, yeah. I'm not unhappy with it. We're still all right, I think.
Dr. Caldwell has managed to isolate and tie off the problem blood vessels. Simply removing the tumor, but not the blood vessels, would have increased the chance of new cancers growing.
We explored the whole abdomen and found 2 branching blood vessels on either side to this growth here that I'm going to remove now. So the surgery is not done yet.
Dr. Caldwell uses a cauterizing tool to cut around the tumor.
I tend to like to use this, especially if there's cancer involved, because you don't want any excessive bleeding and spread of the cancer. The recovery time is going to be a lot longer. She's going to sleep a while. Eh?
It's been a big operation. Fiona remains an unusual lion, but everything has been done to give her the chance of living a longer and healthier life.
If this was anyone else or any other facility, they would have opted for euthanasia. Most people don't want to spend money on things that don't look like lions.
This amount of care and work is typical of what happens at Lionsrock, attempting to right some of the wrongs these animals have endured. On the other side of the world, the Four Paws team is busy preparing Lionsrock's next arrivals. 5 lions from the failed zoo in the Romanian city of Baia Mare. 12-year-old Tahon is the next to be sedated and examined.
So the general condition of him is a little bit better than the first one. The claws are okay. We have a look on the teeth. He was a little bit fat in the past. He lost a little bit of weight, but the skin is still there.
And what we can do?
Surgery. Now I guess if he gets some exercise, really good diet, then he will improve.
Tahon is one of the lucky ones. Many of the animals rescued by Four Paws suffer from long-term medical complaints caused by the conditions they were kept in. With a proper diet and the space to roam at Lionsrock, Tahon should return to good health within a few months. To coincide with the rescue and promote awareness around the plight of lions in captivity, Four Paws is putting on a street theatre performance in the centre of Baia Mare.
We gather here today to say goodbye to the 5 lions. So they will go to Africa, where they belong for real. And we try to emphasize this in order to show to the people the life in cage of this animal.
Sadly, Romania is a hotspot for animals being kept in inhumane conditions. Over 1/3 of the big cats at Lionsrock come from this country.
They don't know how the grass smells. They don't know how to walk on the ground because they were staying on the concrete cages, and they don't know how the African sky looks like. They don't know how to hunt. They don't know how to be a real lion.
Four Paws stages events like this to change the way people think about animals in captivity. If they can get the public on board, then they have a better chance of persuading local politicians to tighten the laws around animals in zoos and circuses. The ultimate aim is for Four Paws to not have to step in and rescue Romanian animals. In the town of Baia Mare in Romania, 5 lions are being prepared for transport to Lionsrock Sanctuary in South Africa. Lydia, the female with an eye injury, is next to be anesthetized. She's one of the 3 older lions. They grew up in the Romanian state circus and spent 15 years in captivity.
Let's look on the eyes. So the lens is loose and there's fibrin inside.
If you shake it, what happens? It actually moves inside.
It moves, yeah. So the cornea is not clear anymore, so the vision is not very good. She hardly can see on the side.
There's no evidence of physical damage to the surface of the eye, so Dr. Goeritz suspects it could be related to her environment and living conditions.
It doesn't look like a trauma from outside, because the cornea is not too bad, but it could be a stump trauma, jumping, whatever, or it could be also related to alimentation. So we have to check the blood for diabetes and all this stuff.
Dr. Goeritz can't treat the eye any further here, but the team will arrange for Lydia to have surgery at Lionsrock once they receive the blood results and have identified what the problem is.
Can you check the thyroid parameters and check for diabetes?
Lydia and the 2 younger males are in their crates and loaded into the transport van. Just the parents, Petrica and Lavinia, remain. Aged around 15 years, they're not excessively old for captive lions. However, their hard lives in Romania, especially in recent years, means they're not in good health.
So this guy needs a longer infusion.
Petrica looks very thin and weak. The small budget keeper Dr. Miklaus had for food resulted in the lions being fed offal and cheap cuts of meat.
Most likely he got severe kidney problems already. So we really have to do severe blood check then.
Kidney problems are common in captive big cats that haven't received proper nourishment or exercise.
And also he's got a little bit ulcer here already. Ulcer is a sign that the urea is increased, and urea does increase when the kidneys doesn't work properly. But the blood work will tell us more.
Last to be treated is the mother lion, Lavinia. Her teeth are in a terrible state.
Oh yeah. Yeah, she need major work. This most likely has to be removed, the right upper one, and this need root canal work. So both root canals are open, all 3 actually, but this has to be removed.
Lavinia's fractured teeth and exposed roots are most certainly causing her pain. She will need extensive dental treatment once she's settled in at Lionsrock. All of the lions are now loaded into their transport crates. Ahead of them lies a very long trip, 1,500 kilometers by road to Frankfurt Airport in Germany, followed by a 10-hour flight to South Africa. All up, they'll spend over 30 hours in transit. Their water will be regularly topped up on the journey.
So we are finished earlier than we suspect, so everything went smooth. That's a good thing. No excitement, everything went smooth, that's good.
Dr. Miklaus won't be traveling with the lions. He's afraid of flying, so this is the final goodbye. They've been a big part of his life for the last 13 years. 11 spent looking after them at the zoo, and then another 2 on his own here at the makeshift premises. It's a bittersweet moment, knowing he won't see his friends again, but able to feel satisfied that they will spend the rest of their lives in relative comfort. Dr. Miklaus's work with lions is finally over. The Baia Mare lions aren't the only Romanian big cats to make the long trip to the FOUR PAWS sanctuary in South Africa. Veterinarian Dr. Peter Caldwell has a number of tigers on his patient list that also come from Romania. This adult female is called Lena.
Check that lower canine, that side.
And this side as well. The bottom two canines for sure, hey? Now this is going to be long. It's going to be 3 hours. When we got to her, I evaluated her. We definitely know that she needed potentially 2 root canals. She looked quite good, and I put a dart in a cocktail of drugs that I normally use. Very conservative on the dosages and so on, because she's a smaller tiger.
Lena's dental problems arise from an upbringing very similar to the Baia lions, if not worse. She was one of 10 big cats at the Ornest Zoo in Romania, which was shut down in 2007 when it failed to meet European Union standards. With nowhere else to go, the animals spent another 6 long years locked away, with no improvement in living conditions.
Die Tiere werden vom Zoo finanziell unterstützt oder ja, auch gepflegt von den Pflegern. Aber man sieht, dass in den letzten Jahren einfach kein Geld da reingesteckt worden ist. Man muss sich einfach die Großkatzen, die Raubkatzen anschauen. Denen geht es unter diesen Bedingungen sehr schlecht und ich fühle total mit.
When FOUR PAWS was alerted to the plight of Lena and the other cats, they began planning a rescue. Finally, in 2013, all 10 animals made the long trip to a new life at Lionsrock. Now that Lena has settled into her new home, it's time to fix some of the more serious health problems resulting from her previous life.
She went down really nice, she fell asleep well, her breathing was really good. It took about 6 minutes for her to fall asleep, which is on average normally how long it takes. Although I did get an impression that she fell asleep a little bit quicker than what it was normal.
Tigers are the most dangerous of the big cats to work with, so Peter takes extra care when entering the enclosure. But as he gets close to Lena, he quickly notices that she's not responding well to the anesthetic.
Yeah, let's get her on this. She's going. There you go. I don't like this.
She's thirsty.
She initially just stopped breathing, and we ensured that she had a good airway, and then we started giving her respiratory stimulants intravenously, and then she went into cardiac arrest and her heart had stopped.
Can I do compressions?
Yeah, you can do compressions.
Lena the tiger has reacted badly to anesthesia and has gone into cardiac arrest.
And you haven't liked this, eh?
Dr. Caldwell and Nurse Angelique are desperately trying to keep her alive.
Can I do compressions?
Yeah, you can do compressions. Angelique started CPR, and I started implementing chemical CPR, where I injected adrenaline intravenously to get the heart to start functioning. And then I injected other drugs to stimulate breathing. I immediately gave the reversal of the sedative. We got her breathing, we got her heart back, and it was probably about 4 or 5 minutes when she started blinking and started showing us nice response.
This is potentially a very dangerous situation for Dr. Caldwell. He must get Lena into a stable condition without being mauled in the process.
When last was this tiger immobilized?
Before she came, we didn't do her centuries here.
We need to do some blood work on her and see what's going on there. If you dart her with Zolota on her own, she's going to die off, because there's no reversal there.
It's not unusual for tigers to experience cardiovascular complications while anesthetized. But this does mean Lena's dental procedures will have to wait.
Yeah, so we're going to give her at least 6 months to recover from this before we try anything like that. She'll probably be a bit stiff and sore for the next 2-3 days. But I do suspect that she will be fine, but we need to find out what the cause is. Unfortunately, we weren't able to take any blood or do any clinical evaluation, so we have to re-evaluate the drugs that we're going to use to immobilize her next time. So we probably have to use a different drug combination.
Lena was fortunate to have such an experienced team taking care of her. Her dental appointment would be rescheduled once blood samples have been taken and Dr. Caldwell is satisfied it's safe to anesthetize her again. After nearly 2 days traveling, the Bayamare lions have finally touched down in Johannesburg, South Africa.
Honestly, I was very stressed about their condition because they were really in very bad shape. And you know, all the transports and all these kind of activities are very stressful for them. And you never know if they make it.
The final leg of their journey is a 3-hour drive to Lionsrock. Most of the 90-odd big cats already at Lionsrock have made a similar trip, having been rescued from a European country. They're curious about the new arrivals. A strange landscape, unfamiliar people. It's a totally alien environment. So it's no surprise Lydia is slow to leave the security of her travel crate. Today, the lions are being released into an adaptation enclosure. At 5,000 square meters, it dwarfs their former home. Once they're acclimatized, they will move into permanent enclosures with even more space to roam in.
I would say mission accomplished. It was very touching to see how every single animal reacted when the crate was open and they were confronted with their new life, with the grass, with the freedom of, you know, open sky, the other lions that are around and they are looking curious at them, the sound of the other lions, and also the huge information that comes with such a place. I think we are not understanding 100% how much it's changing in an animal when from concrete, from a box, suddenly grass. First time after 15 years of your life.